Morning everyone, great to see such a fantastic turnout again. I understand it was a sellout about a week ago. So, as Peter mentioned, I'm the CEO of the City of Karratha, a job I've held for nearly 10 years now. And for over that 10 years we've been running an annual community survey. And City just say survey, everyone's eyes glaze over. I wanted to speak to you about what the community is saying in the survey, why they're important, and when you get one, why you should be filling it in, because it impacts on how we spend our money and how we spend our time. We spend about $150 million a year at the City of Karratha, $3 million a week, and the survey is one of the major tools, or the couple of surveys I'm going to go through, is one of the major tools that we use to determine how and where we spend our time and resources. So I'm going to go through our annual community survey, our business climate survey, and then just talk through some key city issues that are being impacted by those survey results. So the current survey hasn't closed yet. If you haven't filled it in, please do. We've had about 1,000 people fill it in so far. We usually get about 1,500, so we're out there promoting it very, very widely. We measure a whole bunch of stuff, but the real value in the survey is we've got longitudinal data. We ask the same questions every year for the last 10 years, so we can measure what the community's thinking, what the key issues in the community are, and where we should be spending our time and effort. So we ask about three key things to start with. What are our services like? What are our facilities like? And how livable is the community? And we ask two sets of questions. How important is that service? And how well do we do it? And we measure the gap between the importance and how well we do it. And we try to make sure we minimise that gap. And where the gaps are big, where the importance is high and the services down low, that's where we spend our time in. That's essentially the metric. So this is what we're saying so far, the first 1,000 people in 2022. Our services. The green bits down the left-hand side of that graph are where we're performing a service above community expectations. So if you look at graffiti removal, the community expects a 66, we're delivering a 73. We're delivering above community expectations. So essentially that's a league table of our services. From left to right, what the community is saying now are our best things and our worst things. The worst thing at the moment in the services space is prevention of illegal dumping and mozzie control. They're the things that people would like us to do more of, according to this survey. But all in all, the gap there, down at illegal dumping, 75 is the expectation that's being delivered about a 63, so a 12-point gap. Using the metrics we use, a 60 means you're performing it well, all right? But the expectation is you need to be performing it very well. So even mosquito control, the community's expectation, the community's perception is we're performing it well, we'd like you to do it better. So services, there's a little bit of work to do, but it's not horrendous. Facilities, you're actually pretty happy with facilities. There's a lot of green in there, where we're providing facilities above community expectation. So the library's the base, this facility here, your expectation for this facility is it should be 75, but we're delivering it at 84. We're delivering above your expectations for lots and lots of facilities. The only two facilities where we're not quite meeting expectations is public toilets and a slight gap in parks, gardens and open spaces. The parks, gardens and open spaces one's an interesting one because every year our performance goes up, but every year the expectation goes up. So the better we do, the more you expect in parks and gardens. That's fine. That's the purpose of this survey. So I guess from a city perspective, we're hearing we don't need to invest too much more in new facilities. We do need to improve slightly in our services. So if services and facilities aren't the problem, what's the issue? What can we do better? So the third thing we measure is livability. This is what you're saying about livability. There's lots of red. Okay? These are the key issues in our community today, based on 1,000 people's responses. The cost of living is the number one issue in our community today. The cost of living here in Karratha. So the expectation is around an 85 and it's being delivered at around about a 45. It's the number one challenge in our community. Now remember the pass mark's 60 and a number of these services score below 60. But things change. It wasn't that long ago that the number one issue in our community on this survey was education. 5 or 6 years ago. But a huge investment by the state government, by the federal government, by Rio, by Woodside, by the city, by a whole range of people, has meant that education has lifted, and it's not the number one issue in the community. There's still a big gap. The expectation is that education is better, but it's not the most critical issue. So the biggest issues are cost of living, security and safety, access to health services and housing. They're the things that our community is saying, and when you drill down into cost of living, housing comes up as the issue there. So housing's having 2 bites of that cherry. So the most important things, there's some quality stuff where you can write things down. The things that people are writing down. In 2021 it was housing, crime and safety and health. This year there's been some issues more recently in the crime and safety space. You can see 325 crime and safety mentions this year. 170 housing, 86 health. So there's been a shift. So in the quality bit where you can write whatever you want, we do a keyword search and we pick up those key themes as well as we go along. We asked how well have we performed over the last 12 months. And you can see that's 11 years of data there around how we've performed. You think we're doing well, and there's been some slight dips and jumps and bumps, but overall, with 60 being the pass mark, saying if you think we're doing an average job, you're currently saying we're going 75. I show this to the staff regularly and say, what can we do to push that up? What do we need to be doing? And what we need to be doing is looking at that data and tackling those key issues that you keep raising, the community keeps raising. How long do you intend on staying for? Back in 2011, 14% of our population had no plans to leave. That got up to 42% of the population having no plans to leave, but more recently we've seen a slight dip. We're down at 38% of the population having no plans to leave. And you've got 14% of the population planning to be here for 5 years or more. So what we've got now is more than half of our population plans to be here for at least 5 years. So the old mantra of everyone's coming here to make some money and bugger off is not true. Most people are planning to be here for at least 5 years. So things have changed, but there is a worrying trend more recently. The I don't knows are growing, and the people who have no plans to leave are shrinking in the last couple of years. As pressure comes on, we're seeing permanency becoming a more harder issue, and it's around those cost of living, it's around those housing issues. The Business Climate Survey. So far, 179 businesses filled this in. Back in 2019, 38% of businesses who filled the survey in said attracting and retaining staff is a problem. It's now a problem for 64% of you. Cost of living, only 13% 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, said cost of living was a concern for you. 13%, 1 in 8 said cost of living was a concern. Now it's 55%. There's real shifts here in terms of what community perceptions and community issues are. And housing, only 12% were complaining about housing 3 years ago. Nearly half of businesses are saying housing is a concern now. So there's some real emerging problems here, and this data is really, really valuable. Because when I'm in Perth and I'm speaking with government officials and ministers, and Kevin's knocking down doors for me to meet with the Minister for Housing, this is what we show them. We show them this stuff and they think, wow, it's good data. It's really valuable data that helps them when they're trying to work out where to spend their money as well. Lots of councils do the same survey, the Business Climate Survey. At the moment, we're above average in many, many areas. So our vision for the city about becoming Australia's most livable regional city, you guys ranked it as, yeah, we know the vision, 55% of you could quote the vision. Normally councils do 23%. We're above average in a whole range of areas. Our overall performance in supporting businesses, we were the 4th out of 15 in terms of the way we support our local businesses across local governments who do this survey. The issues facing businesses, the top 3 I've mentioned, but you can see it drops off pretty quick after that. Our key issues are those top 3, and that's how we need to work with you on that stuff. But we're the local government. We don't have a magic wand. We can't solve these issues on our own, so we need to work with our partners. So what are we doing? we're spending a lot of money on housing projects. The city's investing about $80 million on a whole range of housing projects. Probably the most exciting one is the one right next door, which there's a report in the council agenda next Monday night to go to detailed design and tender for a builder to build a 7-storey, 82 apartments next door on a build-to-rent scheme, where people can rent them for 10 years under a fixed price rent. That's looking very positive. We've released land, we've built houses with local builders, we're trying to do what we can to stimulate the market, and we're trying to make sure there's sufficient land being supplied and houses being built in the market. It's tough. When I speak to my counterparts in Kalgoorlie and Bunbury, they're having the same problems. When I speak to Albany, they've got a housing crisis. Everyone's got a housing crisis. Ours is just bigger. Labour shortages. We're spending a lot of money on the Karratha is Calling campaign. The Karratha is Calling campaign used to be a tourism marketing campaign. It's now about a livability and a jobs availability campaign. So we've twisted the messages and saying, come up here, there's jobs. Come up here, it's actually a good place to live, rather than come up here for a holiday. So there's been a shift there. We're very, very close to getting a designated area migration agreement approved by the federal government. That'll mean that people will be able to have sponsored migration here for more jobs in Karratha than you can have in Perth. So if you want to get a sponsored person to be a sheet metal worker, you can't do that if the person lives in Perth, but you could do it if they lived here. That's what a Dharma does. In the area of health, we run probably not one that we promote well enough. We partner with Woodside, we partner with Rio Tinto, and we've identified a number of houses, and we offer subsidised rentals, and we offer a rent for doctors, GPs, physios, speech pathologists, OTs. We offer subsidised rent, and the number of GPs that we've got in town since we've reintroduced this scheme has gone through the roof. There's still sometimes wait lists for doctors, but it has improved out of sight since we've introduced that scheme. And we're developing a new health plan, and we're working and lobbying hard with the state government around things like MRI scans. How can we get an MRI machine? How can we get those specialist and allied services that the community wants? The area of crime, it's a critical issue in the community at the moment. We're the only council I'm aware of that gives you $500 to put security cameras up. And we've had 385 local people install security cameras and access our $500. The police told me that when you get our $500, you have to register your CCTV on the police network. There are more CCTV cameras registered on the WA police network in Karratha than anywhere else in WA. We have a very good CCTV network. The police love it because if there's a crime in your street, they can go on there and say, who in that street's got CCTV, and they can ring you up and say, look, there's been an incident, we have a look at your CCTV. It's a really, really good system. Okay? Because of that, we get lots of CCTV footage showing up on Facebook. Council is reviewing that scheme right now, and is considering extending it beyond residential areas, to potentially extend it out to commercial and industrial areas as well. At the moment, it's only available to residential. We've done our own CCTV network in public areas. We do a lot of work in public lighting, footpaths. We work with the local police very, very closely on a whole range of initiatives. And while there has been some juvenile crime issues now, I'm very confident that the Police, Department of Justice, Department of Communities are A, aware of it, and B, doing something about it. I think there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. And finally, I'd just like to mention COVID. COVID's here and it's going to be here in a big way soon. Our strategy is to be planned, be prepared and be aware. We support the state government wherever we can. We work with our local major stakeholders, and I guess we try to plan for as many scenarios as we can. And our strategy we're calling the middle of the road approach. We're not being way out there jumping at shadows and trying to shut things down straight away, but we're also not putting our head in the sand and trying to ignore the issues. We're staying smack bang in the middle, listening, learning. We're speaking to our eastern states cousins to find out how they managed it, what worked, what didn't work, and we're just trying to navigate our way through this time And most importantly, we're supporting the state government, we're supporting the federal government because it's their pandemic to manage. We're a big player. A few people saying, why isn't the council doing more? Why isn't the city doing more? We're doing what we're meant to do. We're out there helping, supporting, and making sure everyone gets through these tough times. So my key message from you today is, when you see that community survey email coming through from the KDCCI or the business climate survey, don't press delete. Spend the 5 or 10 minutes to fill it in. You might think, just another bloody survey. But please, I feel like that when I see them, but we use ours. And if you fill it in, I can guarantee you it'll make a difference. We'll try to make sure we use these results and spend the money where you want us to spend the money. There's really, really exciting times ahead. With those exciting times comes challenges and comes opportunities. We just want to try and minimise the challenges and absolutely maximise those opportunities. Looking forward to the ride that we're going on. Thanks very much.